So one other thing I wanted to bring up is the dreaded two letters AI. Hello, everyone. Very nice to see you all. So today's session is all about accelerators and whether or not we need them. And starting up businesses, as you all know. By the way, how many founders do we have in this room? I think somebody asked that before. How many people are entrepreneurs that have been inside organizations that are starting? It's hard, right? Building businesses is hard. We all need a little bit of help. Today, we're going to talk about the helpers. We're going to talk about the accelerators, the incubators, the studios, the programs and infrastructure that lift startups and bring them into scale. And I'm super excited about my panel today. We have a fantastic panel with Katie from Comcast and Elliot from Techstars. And I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. So Katie, can you please go first?
Sure, thank you. So excited to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Katie Teuber. I'm the Director of Startup Engagement for Comcast NBC Universal's Lift Labs team. We are a strategic partner to startups in the ecosystem that is hyper-focused on business development throughout Comcast, NBCU, and Sky.
Hey everyone, Elliot, Mack, investor at Techstars. Techstars is an early stage accelerator that invests in and partners with founders and startups, bringing you into our typically 3-month, anywhere from 12-week to 13-week program, surrounding you with mentorship, investment capital, programming, etc. So excited to be here.
And my name is Mark Yackanich. I'm partner at BetterFutureLabs, and I'm your host for today. And let's get right into it. When we think about Comcast, when we think about Techstars, these are bellwethers in the support ecosystem for startups. They each are highly motivated in very different ways to actually help startups to scale. So I'm hoping that we can start just by giving a little bit of background in the way that each of these companies works in supporting the startup ecosystem. Let's start with Comcast, please.
Sure. So the Startup Engagement team in Lift Labs rolls up under our Strategic Development Organization and our Chief Business Development Officer. So we're hyper-focused on innovation. So our team specifically runs 2 thematic accelerators a year. We've had 3 in the past 2 years. We've been around for about 5 years now. But the past 2 years, we've done generative AI, enterprise AI, and our last one was vertical AI that just finished last month. They're 4 to 6 week programs, hybrid. 2 weeks in our amazing space in Philadelphia, the CTC building, where we have a great floor dedicated to Lift Labs and for you to use as a resource. During those 4 weeks, it's our job to connect you with the right individuals across the organization, specific to your value prop, specific to your use case. So it's a lot of business development meetings. Our team is there to support and initiate the project workflow, as well as having a marketing arm to amplify your story, both internally throughout our business and externally. So our goal is to launch pilots and POCs within those 4 weeks. But our ultimate goal is to develop long-term partnerships with the startups that are in our portfolio.
Great, thank you. And so, Elliot, I think if you work in the startup ecosystem, you must be familiar with Techstars. So, Elliot, can you please give us a little bit more of a deep dive into Techstars, the various programs that you have? It's a combination of accelerator, I believe, educational platform, funding platform, et cetera.
Yeah, sure. So Techstars is the global platform for investment and innovation. As I mentioned earlier, we were founded in 2006 in Boulder, Colorado, and we have over 50 accelerator programs globally, both here in the States and across the globe. Our main job is to help entrepreneurs succeed, right? And as Mark asked the question earlier, there's a ton of founders that have joined us today. So before I go even deeper on Techstars, kudos to all the founders, I would say, in the room, but here outside, it's very hard and challenging to be a founder. So let's just get a round of applause for all the founders. As an investor, as corporate partners, as BetterFutureLabs, we have a ton of respect for what you do. It's not easy. So keep pushing. To help you keep pushing, that's where Techstars comes in. We're here to give you a safe space, mentorship, guidance to come in and continue to build and scale your company. How we do that more tactically, we provide investment capital. We provide $120K in exchange for 6% common equity. In addition to the capital, we surround you with a plethora of mentorship and guidance and support. We have hundreds of mentors that are across the investment landscape. That can be angel investors, syndicate leads, institutional VCs, other alumni, other corporate partners, other industry stakeholders who you're able to surround yourself with to leverage their insights, leverage their expertise. These are individuals who have started companies, who have scaled companies, who have sold companies. So you have that extra benefit in addition to the weekly and daily programming and subject matter experts that come in and lead workshops. You can literally pick up the phone or text or walk down the hall and ask someone at name brand company who sold it for billions of dollars, hey, how did you first think about your go-to-market strategy? How did you get your first literal 100 customers, right? So it's that access, that level of immediate response that you can get back from folks who can help you scale your company is just one of the many benefits and added value from a Techstars ecosystem.
So as we all know, startups come in all shapes and sizes, and the help that they need differs from place to place. So let's talk a little bit about the companies that you're actually looking for. So Katie, what types of companies should be approaching you from a stage perspective, size perspective, focus perspective, et cetera?
Yeah, so our sweet spot is probably the seed to Series A stage companies, but we've had Series B, Series C, and pre-seed companies apply as well. Ultimately, you have to be an enterprise-ready solution. So coming through a program, we want to be able to test, solve a problem, make sure there's a specific reason that our business leaders are interested in working with you, and ultimately, hopefully, become a customer of yours. So we typically find the most success in that range.
Got it, great. Elliot, how about yourself?
Yeah, pretty similar. We're a bit earlier in the process. Majority of our startups are at the seed stage. And again, for that 120K and 6%, they're raising anywhere from 250K up to 2 million, but that is a range. So if you're a founder who hasn't raised 250K yet, that's okay. We can help you do that. So I just wanted to give you some sort of a framework and guidelines for the types of companies and founders that we're looking for. So some of our founders have really strong traction. They have 6 or 7 figures of revenue, and they've raised $2 million. Some of our founders are on the opposite end of that. They have a really strong team, individuals with strong subject matter expertise and unique insights that they're adding to their companies, but they haven't quite hit those metrics yet. But that's okay. We're at the early stage. So the point being, if you're early, you're early. That's totally fine. Don't count yourself out. Continue to build, continue to hire great people, and you'll ultimately hit those traction metrics that you're looking for. And at Techstars or Labs or Comcast, we're all here to help you do that.
So I'm sure that you've seen many companies come through your doors. You've listened to many pitches. And when you think about the people in this audience who may be actually looking to come to you and try and get some support, can you give us some best practices, some lessons learned based on seeing all those pitches? Which are the companies that have the highest degree of success in interacting with your organization?
Sure, I can kick it off. Clearly articulate the problem that you are solving. I think a lot of times we get into a meeting and halfway through the business leader's like, wait, what are you trying to deliver to me? So the unique position that we sit in as a LiftLabs team is that we spend a lot of our times networking around the entire organization between Comcast, NBC, Parks, Sky, Spectacor, understanding how can we help accelerate your roadmap through partnerships with startups. So as we learn those things, we also learn how to work best with some of these business leaders and individuals. So we prep you for the meeting in terms of here's where their focus area is, here's how you should tailor your demo for this particular call. You know, you're getting on a business leader's calendar for a half hour, an hour. You want to make best use of that time, and we're there to give you the tools to do so, as well as follow up afterward and make sure that we're moving forward at a good pace.
That is incredibly valuable. And for anybody who's actually tried to assault the wall with a big corporation like Comcast, that type of support is invaluable in getting the meetings, following through. Kudos to you and your team on that.
Yeah, I would add, like, really understand your business. A lot of times, and we're speaking to founders in the room, so you probably know where I'm going with this, but during a diligence call, you're meeting with an investor, one of the questions that comes up is like, okay, tell me about your competition, right? I cannot tell you how many times a founder will look at me in the eye and say, we don't have any competition. It's like, well, Joe or Susie, I literally spoke to 3 companies today that are doing the exact same thing as you, right? So really understand what you're building, and understanding yourself, understanding your company is also understanding your market, because a lot of the questions we're gonna ask is, how are you differentiated from the other 5, 10, 20 companies in your space, whether it's AI, whether it's sports tech, whether it's deep tech. Really understand your company, really understand how you're differentiated, and be able to speak to that in plain, simple human terms. At the end of the day, always remember, you may be speaking to that investor who's at, hotshot venture capital firm X, You may be a bit intimidated, but understand, like, you have leverage in that conversation as well. At the end of the day, yes, it's founder to investor, but it's also human one speaking to human two. So have that confidence, have that psychological kind of advantage, bring that into the conversation, and be confident and speak to who you are, speak to what your company does.
That's great advice. And I'll just add one thing to that as well, is come prepared with that 1 minute, 2 minute video clip. If you're not the best, you're extremely technical, and you're maybe not the best salesperson just yet, have a recorded video that you can play in a meeting that's 1 to 2 minutes that makes your point and shows your demo to the business leader.
What is the value of the demo versus the presentation material?
I see a lot of value in the demo. That's when you can actually leave times for use case exploration and to dive a little bit deeper into how you can specifically help the individuals in that room. And a demo is, I feel like, a two-way street, whereas a pitch, you're kind of speaking to people and speaking at them. A demo should really include asking a lot of questions, listening, pivoting to what their answers are, and being a little bit more agile in that conversation, whereas a pitch, I think, you're getting your quick sell in, and you're making sure to clearly articulate your vision.
I agree with that. I just say it's more engaging, it's more conversational, it's more human, if you will. Yes, there's value in pitching and receiving feedback from an investor. That's kind of the state of the union, if you will. That's how deals get done. But at the same time, remember, this is a human business more than anything else. Yes, we talk about your metrics and your traction. How much have you raised? How much have you not raised? But remember, VC, fundraising, starting companies, this is a human-based, a human relationship-driven business. So if you can start with that, continue that, and lead with that, I think that'll go a long way in hiring people, raising capital, ultimately selling your company or IPOing, if that's what your goal is to do.
So on the topic of raising capital, let's talk about that for a little bit. In my opinion, looking at the market, generally speaking, we're seeing a tough time right now. Round sizes are decreasing. It's increasingly competitive to get those rounds. There's a lot of pressure moving down to the earlier stages of the market. There's a lot of toughness happening at the Series B, C, and D stages. That's my perspective. You're sitting as check writers in these organizations. What are you seeing?
Yeah, that's the right perspective, Mark. It's certainly hard for founders. I don't think we're saying anything new now. But what I will say, as a point of optimism, although venture capital volume and dollars and round sizes are less going into startups today, a finer point for everyone in the room to remember is that valuations of those same companies are not largely decreased from where they were the highs of 2021, right? Startup valuations are only down 10 to 25%. So the point is, although VC dollars are less going into the companies, the general sentiment around venture capital investing, the sentiment around founders and entrepreneurship is still relatively high. So the point is, if you're raising right now, stay optimistic. You may want to raise that 500K round, 750K round. You may not get every single penny of that. However, investors are still focused on investing. Deals are still getting done, to your question, Mark. And you definitely want to stay positive. And a larger kind of macro point, Kaufman Fellows released a sentiment report recently where 53% of investors reported they're expecting to allocate and deploy more capital here in 2024 than they did in 2023. That's one data point to remember. And 55% of investors expect the macroeconomic climate and conditions to improve, right? So again, you'll see the headlines on CNBC or TechCrunch, Crunchbase. It's doom and gloom. It's not. Continue to stay optimistic, continue to build your company, and your founders. We don't have to tell you to stay resilient. Just being a founder, you're naturally resilient. But our point is keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, and to that point as well, the networks that we have in the VC space, as well as we roll up under our Comcast Ventures team who have eyes on our portfolio. And this past year, we were really excited that they decided to invest in 2 of our startups. So Reality Defender, which is a deep fake detection for video, visual, and text. They raised a Series A round of $15 million, and we contributed to that as well as NLX also completed their Series A round as well that we were invested in.
So one other thing I wanted to bring up is the dreaded 2 letters AI. And I say dreaded only because we talk about it a lot in the industry, and we talk about it a lot because obviously it is so important right now to the innovation economy and a lot of the work that all of you are doing. So one question is, are we in a bubble? And we've talked about the idea that AI is interesting. There's certainly a lot of investable supply out there. Are we in an AI bubble?
So I think we still have a great momentum with AI. From an enterprise perspective, especially with LiftLabs, we get to partner with so many different business units. And AI really hyped up about a year and a half ago, 2 years, but we're just starting to get a lot of these pilots and POCs running and more excitement internally. Obviously, Comcast is a huge enterprise. We've been doing AI, ML models for a long time, but in terms of startup partnership, I think it's exciting about the massive amount of use cases we can find and the problems we can solve for using AI. So if you're able to increase efficiencies with a very niche solution, and give more time back to our employees so that they can be more strategic and effective in their day-to-day responsibilities, I don't think anything's going to pop, per se, anytime soon.
I tend to agree. I think when you speak about a bubble, I think one of the larger points here is that we have to remember AI is not, and I'm sure many of you already know this, AI is not a new concept, right? It seems very buzzy and trendy today because a lot of investment dollars are going into AI companies, but I'm sure probably all of us in this room did a Google search today, right? That is a form of AI. Google's been around for a very long time. We're seeing new applications and use cases today, to Katie's point, whether it's an EV or modular construction or robotics, et cetera. But to answer your question directly, Mark, I don't think we're in a bubble. It's hindsight. We can look back 3 months from now, 2 years, 5 years from now, and be able to answer that more definitively. But there's a lot of application for AI. It's been here. It's here to stay. And it's very exciting. So.
Yeah, AI is the product. Is not the product. It's the feature, right? So as long as your product is able to solve a problem that's still needed to be solved, AI should only be enhancing your solution.
So that would imply that the application of AI is really where you think it's at least for Comcast? Is that the area within AI that you're kind of most interested in, applied AI?
Applied AI, so in terms of where we're looking, Vertical AI Accelerator just completed, and that was really how can we get into our daily workflows. But we're looking at content creation, at customer acquisition and reducing churn and trying to see if we can personalize our customer experiences using AI. So there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of exploration.
If I can, just by show of hands, how many founders are not building in AI? A few. Okay. We're hearing a lot about AI. I'm sure there's more panels coming up later. There were some earlier around AI. If you were not building in AI, that's okay. Okay. I see a lot of smiling faces and some chuckles. There's so much focus right now on AI and AI and AI. Yes, there's a lot of applicability and value that comes from that. But from a Techstars perspective, Techstars, we actually released our State of Innovation survey on Tuesday, where over 1,500 founders and investors were polled, and 60% of founders surveyed reported not building in AI. 60%. I think if I were to poll all of you, you would probably say 80% are building. The point is, don't feel left out, okay? If you're building a more traditional, even boring B2B SaaS company, the future Salesforce or Dropbox, that's okay. Those companies did pretty well, as I'm sure you can imagine. There's a lot of focus around AI, but there's also great companies being built in non-AI focused businesses, right? And in that same survey, 33% of founders polled are only building AI as an enabler tool. So even in that instance, the AI is still not the core technology. So if you're just jumping on the AI train and still learning about it and still doing a lot of Googling and researching, that's totally fine. Whatever it is that you're building, to Katie's earlier point, whether it's AI as an enabler, or a B2B SaaS company, what's most important, it's not the sector, it's how differentiated is your product? How differentiated is the solution you're going after with that product? Who is your team? What's your unique domain expertise and team formation? Those are the important parts that as investors we're looking for, not so much what sector are you building in. So if you're not building in AI, stay encouraged.
Great advice. So let's go back to the accelerators and try to kind of bring this home. The topic is, do we need accelerators as we're thinking about driving the innovation economy? What do you think? Do we need them? Are they important? What is the critical role that they play? And do you think they continue to be important, especially as the dynamics of starting up change based on AI and innovation?
Yeah. In addition to accelerators, we need venture capitalists, we need institutional VC firms, we need founders, we need corporate partners, we need NJEDA, we need BetterFutureLabs, we need an ecosystem to support all of the hard work of the founders that I'm looking out in the room for today. We need an entire ecosystem. Do we need accelerators? We 100% need accelerators, right? For some folks, that could be your first $120,000 check. For some folks, that's your first round of institutional capital. For some, that's your friends and family round. We can talk we don't have that many more minutes, but for some, if friends and family around is not realistic for a lot of people, and there are many reasons for that as well. So from an institutional perspective, the fact that we're able to support founders, share that first round of capital, bring them into an ecosystem of safety and kind of comfort, if you will, and really helping, mentoring, and guiding, we 100% need accelerators. VC funding is down. We've said that a few times today. But founders are solving the biggest problems of our world today, right? Climate change, human longevity. And founders wake up every day with a fire in their stomach to go after these problems and attack it. And if accelerators aren't around, if corporate partners aren't around, it'll be a bit harder for them. So you all keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully we're in position to keep doing what we're doing and supporting you so that we can bring new positive changes to the world.
Absolutely, I love that. I think to add to those great points with the ecosystem, you need adoption. And in order for you to be successful, you need to drive your customer base. And coming into an accelerator, a corporate accelerator at LiftLabs, we have a full team dedicated to the success of long-term partnerships with our startup portfolios. So, we have everything from getting those meetings on the calendars to navigating the corporate enterprise, which being inside of a company like Comcast, and I see my Comcast business partners here, it's hard to navigate that being on the inside. So I can't imagine what it's like on the outside. So that's what our team is there to be, the nucleus to kind of get you navigating through the company, make sure that you're meeting with the right people. And then once we're able to show what your ROI is and how you've driven impact to our business, we make sure to amplify that story and make sure that other business leaders are aware so that we can help streamline your business and your solution throughout the organization. So I think the accelerator, yeah, it's great. It's 4 to 6 weeks, and it's very short-lived. But the relationship you build out of that accelerator is where you see the most value.
Great. Couldn't agree more on any of those points. So as we begin to wrap up here, one question. Any hot takes on the startup ecosystem, state of AI, the state of things right now in the innovation economy, the ground that we're playing in?
Yeah, I think there's this whole world around expectations versus reality. When you say AI, consumers think they're going to get the world. They should never have anything go wrong because AI is driving their entire experience or their entire product or their service. And it's definitely, I think, if you're able to provide a solution to make something better, there's so much potential with AI. I think making promises and the way you deliver that message, there's something around that.
Yeah, just quickly, I'd say that in the context around this is, again, when you're starting a company, you want to be as well-rounded as possible. So my hot take, especially if you're fundraising at the earlier stages, at this pre-seed or seed, is that the numbers, the metrics don't matter as much as you may think, right? A lot of times we'll do a Google search and say, I'm a pre-seed company. What are the thresholds? What are the metrics that I need to raise my pre-seed round or my seed round? You'll Google it. You'll talk to your co-founder friends. They'll tell you have to have A, B, and C. Bad metrics aren't as daunting as you may think, and good metrics aren't as helpful as you may think. From an investor perspective, we're looking for the full picture. And from a Techstars perspective, again, we're really optimizing for strong founding teams. We're looking at you, the humans who are building this company. What are your backgrounds? What's your unique domain expertise? Why are you building this company? Why does this problem matter so much to you? Because if it really doesn't matter to you, when it gets hard, and it will get hard, will you just say, you know what, I tried and go take another job? Or are you really going to be determined to wake up every day with that pit in your stomach to find a solution to this problem, right? So if you don't have the metrics you think you may have or what the internet tells you that you may need to have, again, stay focused, stay encouraged, continue to build, because we're looking at the totality of your company. Is this a high-risk, high-reward investment that we can make? And if you have, 10K MRR or 20K MRR, doesn't really matter.
So in just wrapping things up, I'm going to ask one more question, and I'm going to borrow from Tim Ferriss, because I love this question on his podcast. If you're driving down I-95, you have a billboard on the side of I-95. You can put anything on that billboard that you want. Thousands of people every day are going to pass it. Entrepreneurs, regular people, et cetera. What is the message you'd put on the billboard?
I would have to be motivational, because if it's an early morning for me, I want to start my morning with something that helps me get it going. Something like, you're responsible for your own dreams. You basically, in a not as polite way of saying that, is you kind of have to kick your own ass. You know, every day is a grind as a startup founder, and you have to be persistent but patient, and you have to kind of find your motivation to continue on. And I think it's not easy by any means, but with the right tools and the right resources and obviously the right plan, there's a lot of excitement behind it. And I love the energy of working with startup founders. It's contagious every day, and our team enjoys it so much. So yeah, the billboard would have to be motivational for me.
How about you, Elliot?
Amazing. Yeah, I both professionally and personally, I'm a huge proponent of democratizing access to capital and finding the best entrepreneurs wherever they are. So I know at Techstars, we really believe in that. I personally believe in that. So if I'm driving down, I guess my billboard would say, great entrepreneurs are everywhere. So find them, support them, invest in them, and win with them.
Okay, well, everyone, that is it. I'd like you to thank Elliot. I'd like you to thank Katie. Reach out to them. They are great resources for building your businesses. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you all.